Hey guys, I'm your host from Italian News Channel, and in this episode, we're going to talk about Timbernetes. On December 17, 2025, the Kubernetes project dropped version 1.35, and this release is packed with changes that matter. Whether you're running a small cluster or managing enterprise infrastructure, there's something here that will impact how you work. Let's break down what's new, what's changing, and what you need to know. Kubernetes 1.35 is codenamed Timbernetes after the world tree from mythology. This release includes 30 track changes with 15 features graduating to stable production ready status and 14 brand new experimental features. But more importantly, this release forces some hard decisions. The Kubernetes team isn't just adding features anymore, they're removing old technology and pushing everyone toward modern standards. The headline feature is in place pod resize and is now stable after more than 6 years of development. Here's why this matters. Until now, if you wanted to give a running pod more CPU or memory, Kubernetes had to kill it and start over. That's fine for stateless web apps, but terrible for databases and terrible for stateful services or anything that doesn't like being interrupted. With in-place pod resize, you can adjust resources while the pod keeps running. Think about a Java application that runs extra CPU during startup, then can scale back down, or a database that needs more memory during peak hours. You can now make these adjustments without downtime. This has been one of the most requested features in Kubernetes history and is finally here. The second major addition is gang scheduling, and this is specifically designed for artificial intelligence and machine learning workloads. When you're training a large model, you often need multiple pods to start at exactly the same time. If only some of them start, the entire job fails and you've wasted compute resources. Kubernetes 1.35 introduces a new pod group resource that ensures groups of related pods either all start together or none of them start at all. On a 1,000 node training cluster, this can save over $100,000 per month in wasted compute. That's not a small improvement. There's a companion feature called Restart All Containers that works hand in hand with gang scheduling. Sometimes your AI training job hits an error and needs to restart, but you don't want to reschedule the entire pod to a different node. That rescheduling creates massive overhead. This new feature lets you trigger a full in place restart of the pod without moving it. The containers restart, but the pod stays where it is. Again, this saves enormous amounts of time and money on large training clusters. Now let's talk about the changes that might break your cluster if you're not prepared. First, cgroup version 1 support is completely removed, not deprecated, removed. If your nodes are still running cgroup v1, Kubelet will fail to start. You must migrate to cgroup v2 before upgrading to Kubernetes 1.35. Second, IPVS mode in kube proxy is now officially deprecated. It will be removed in a future version. The replacement is NF tables, which fixes the scaling problems that plagued IP tables for years. Third, if you're still running containered version 1.x, you need to upgrade. Containered 1.x has reached end of life. You need containered 2.x to run Kubernetes 1.35. Finally, there's a permission change for pod exec and pod attach operation. The API server now requires create permission for both SPDY and WebSocket requests. Previously, WebSocket only needed get permission. Check your role bindings before upgrading. Beyond in-place pod resize, there are other features now considered production ready. Structured authentication configuration is stable, which means you can configure multiple OpenID providers and reload the configuration without starting your API server. Traffic distribution policies are now more predictable. The old prefer closed mode is deprecated in favor of prefer same zone, and there's a new prefer same node option that routes traffic to pods on the same node when available. This improves network efficiency significantly. Stateful set rollouts got faster too. The max unavailable field is now enabled by default in beta, which means Kubernetes can update multiple stateful pods at once instead of going one by one. Your rollouts will be dramatically fast. There are some interesting experimental features you can start testing. OCI image volume source is now enabled by default, which lets you mount container images directly as volumes. This is huge for AI and ML teams who want to separate their models from their application code. Kubernetes is also moving to KYAML. This prevents common formatting errors, including the infamous Norway bug where the country code NO gets interrupted as the boolean false. Pod certificates is in beta, giving you native certificate management without external tools. And there's a feature called node declared features that helps the scheduler understand what each node can actually do when component versions are out of sync. So what should you do with all this information? If you're running production clusters, start planning your migration to cgroup v2 immediately. Check your containered version, review your kube proxy configuration and start thinking about moving away from IPVS. If you're working with AI and ML workloads, the gang scheduling and restart features are worth testing now. They solve real problems that have cost teams significant time and money. For everyone else, in-place pod resize is the feature to watch. It changes how we think about resource management in Kubernetes and is going to become a standard part of how we operate clusters. I have included the installation and setup guide, which you can find in the description box below. Kubernetes 1.35 represents a maturation of the platform. The team is making hard choices, removing legal technology, and focusing on real world problems. There's going to be a live webinar on January 14th, 2026, where you can ask the release team questions directly. That's Kubernetes 1.35. If you found this useful, hit that subscribe button. We'll keep you updated on what matters in cloud native technology. And thanks for watching. I'll see you again in the next video.